Welcome to the Rude Dog Show. I'm Rudy Reyes, and I appreciate the all ears on deck calling, as it were, right here on the Two Live Stews Radio Network today, discussing whether someone is a winner or perhaps a winner in the making. You can look at more examples than one could imagine, and it can take you more lifetimes to figure out what makes someone a winner. Could the mentality be the go-to aspect, or is there more to it than meets the eye? Do you choose to win, or is winning chosen for you? Or do you become a winner? Not everybody was born a winner, or were they? Let's put it this way. You have more than one way to be a winner in any given sport, and it involves the efforts you put forth. And sometimes that effort is put forth outside of your comfort zone. We can't always be comfortable with the things that we do because we're so accustomed to doing it. We're almost like we're trapped inside of a box. It's about yay big, yay wide, but sometimes we live in a box. But here to discuss the out-of-box experience and much more with me today is Harrison Hunter, a former student athlete and aspiring sports interviewer and reporter who joins me right here on the Rude Dog Show. Welcome to the show, Harrison. Thank you for taking your time out and joining me today here on the show.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on. I'm excited to get into it.
Hey, me too. I'm ready to go here. Look, we're talking about mentality, efforts in sports, and so much more to speak in the way of aspects leading to someone's greatness. Being a former student athlete yourself, I can guarantee that you've also faced some obstacles and asked yourself, can I be great? Or is greatness something that you were born through a genetic code?
I definitely think you can learn to be great. You can surround yourself with great people that aspire to do hard. They work hard. They want to do good things. They want to achieve something. They're focused. They're coachable. They learn. They're always trying to grow. And surrounding yourself with those type of people becomes infectious. I didn't always learn. I didn't know how to win. I had to learn how to win. I had to surround myself with winners, and going from someone who didn't have a scholarship and was a walk-on to earning the full ride in my final year. That's kind of the essence of how I became what I am today, is a lot from what I learned by surrounding myself with winners.
I've actually spoken to a lot of student athletes throughout my years of doing this right here on the Rude Dog Show on the Two Live Stews Radio Network. It hasn't always been on the Two Live Stews Radio Network, but this is where my home is. And I look for attitudes, personalities, perseverance, and passion. I mentioned 4 P's here on the show before. None of those start with P and then last Diddy. No. All of those aforementioned P's are what's making a student athlete be who they are. And you said that you were a walk-on, you received a full scholarship at the end. It's not always that pretty. Sometimes you get through the ugly to get to the pretty, as it were. Mm-hmm. Is development for you as a student athlete, do you believe it was done organically through, you were talking about getting people and adding them to your circle, adding them to your world, adding them in conversation? Did it happen that way, or do you believe that your dad probably would have been in sports, possibly adding a little bit of something to you from an athletic standpoint in order to help you become in a greatness, or was there such a thing? Can there be a happy medium?
Yeah, there absolutely is. You have to be born with some talent. Like, you can't just, not everyone. I used to think everyone could play in the league or in the show. And that's not how it works. You've got to mesh talent with extremely tenacity, to work hard, to want to grow, to want to get better, to want to beat everyone. You have to have that. That phrase that work hard beats talent and talent doesn't work hard. That is absolutely what would encapsulate my entire college career. I was born talented, but I had to work on my craft. I had to become more skilled. Baseball is such a skilled sport that you have to work towards that. You've got to practice. You've got to work with teammates. You've got to work on your craft with your swing and your throw and your focus and your mental state. It's just such an important part of the game. So I think there is definitely a healthy balance. But a lot of it is done organically through one of my coaches, Andy Schaufeli. really, really pulled the best out of me and helped me become a better man because of it.
Being a better person comes from a variety of things. And when I look at those varieties could come and derive from what you learned, what you heard, what it may have been whispered in the locker room, but not allowing, all of that's called white noise. When I say white noise, it's very transparent, it's not very disruptive, or at least that's your perception, not allowing it to be that way. And I believe there's such a thing as happy medium. I don't believe that you can wake up and be great just because your dad was Michael Jordan, or your dad was Kobe Bryant, or anybody else for that matter, or Terry Bradshaw, whatever pick that you'd like to put out, whatever your favorite player is and how you aspire to be like that player has absolutely nothing to do with you waking up being able to do the very same things or similar things thereof. And I agree with you, to have the right people around you, to have the mindset, to have those individuals that have the same ideology, being able to contribute to what you're trying to accomplish in your lifetime, because if they're trying to do the very same thing, those are the types of people you need to have surrounded you. And unfortunately, people like Colin Kaepernick, who does not have his girlfriend being in its best behavior today alone. I was listening to the news, and of course I'm always glued to news channels and sports talk shows and things of that nature, and you're talking about how Kaepernick, his girlfriend, is being the poison to his apple. In other words, the types of conversations she's having with NFL teams while he's there to confer with them to say, look, I want to be in the system, I want to play for you guys. Sometimes you have to know when to cut your losses, and that's the opposite side to being able to succeed, is having those around you that are of a negative atonement. I don't know that Colin Kaepernick will get another shot in the NFL. If he does, then so be it, but there are greater things to worry about in the NFL outside of Colin Kaepernick. Talk about Michael Bennett in that situation as well. I don't know if it was because of the people that he was hanging around where the police pulled him over, held him up at gunpoint, and how that whole situation ensued. Clearly, Michael Bennett, a star for the Seattle Seahawks, is not taking this lying down as he's trying to acquire the right attorneys and the right type of people around him to help support the fact that it was unjust, uncalled for. But could this be about the people that you choose to surround yourself with? Is there a mental block? I mean, how could you go from being a star in your respective league to being the bottom of your tier because of somebody that you have as a part of your life that's being a negative?
Yeah, I think there are negative parts of everyone's life. And you just have to recognize at what point does this person drag me down? Because I get the part of wanting to help and wanting to bring them up and wanting to help and support them. But at some point, there does become a time where you're saying, hey, I've got to make a good decision for me. I've got to cut losses. And I'm not necessarily talking about Michael Bennett or Colin Kaepernick's situation, because I've never been in those situations, but I'm talking about in my personal life. I've had to, it's not necessarily cut people out, but realize that I need to surround myself with different people who have the same mindset as me and wanting to achieve more, wanting to be better, not settling, and enjoying life while walking with friends who are good people and fun to be around. It's extremely important with who you surround yourself with.
I completely agree with you. I am on I'm on kind of a revival week, meaning that I'm going to turn 44 in just, about 5 days. And I think to myself, I have done such a great job trying to surround myself with people that are positive, mind-like, outgoing, professional, as well as being able to help me in some sort of way, because I'm always learning something from somebody. I'm always talking to somebody. My phone's constantly blowing up, whether it's helping people out or it has everything to do with just being there to listen. It's not always about talking, it's about listening, which is what makes a very good interviewer, by the way, for those that don't know. This is Rudy Reyes of the Rude Dog Show on the Two Live Stews Radio Network. I'm live here on Facebook and on Spreaker. Make sure everybody checks that out. Now, look, this whole debate could go on infinitively. There is no right or wrong answer, but I think that there is a happy medium answer, and I think you touched on it very well, Harrison, when you were talking about how surrounding the people that will do beneficial things for you, around you, to you, by you, and do right by you, as well as having the same mentality and ambition. to get to where you want to go. I think those are the types of people that you could have, and you can honestly say that maybe a handful of people that you know, I know about a handful of people, but I only keep very, very few very close to me that I really truly consider my friend because they've been there. Somebody who's positive, mind light, who contains those types of attributes. Do you believe as though this debate will probably go on infinitively? And if so, is there ever an end? Is there a real true answer to any of it?
I think Colin Kaepernick got the results that he expected to get. This may have blown up bigger than he thought, but he protested. And for right or wrong, he's getting backlash for it because of who he is and what he did. And I think it's awesome what he's standing for. I support him, and I think it's fantastic that he's bringing recognition to something that is needed. It's for far more than we give credit for. But there is backlash, right? That's what happens when you protest, and especially when you're protesting successfully, there's going to be backlash. That's how it goes. Successful protest comes with sacrifice. And I think anything that is worth, anything in this life is worth sacrifice. When you have a relationship, I got married in May, and with whatever we do, it needs to be sacrificed to make sure my wife is included. I can't necessarily every single weekend go out and stay with my boys because eventually my wife is going to say, hey, I was this too, and I need some attention from you and some love, and I need to be the man of the house and give her what she needs. And so you sacrifice time with other people to spend with your wife. And in essence, trying to loop it back to Colin Kaepernick, if you sacrifice something that you truly think is worth it, there are going to be consequences in it, and that's just that comes with sacrifice.
When I look at Colin Kaepernick, I think to myself, man, how much more sacrifice can he muster? But sometimes sacrificing means you have to sacrifice those people who are negative, who are being a distraction. And I don't think that Colin Kaepernick has the ability to discern what those are, to be able to say, you know what, I need to put you on the side. I don't need you here because you're doing nothing but distracting me. You're being a distraction to other people. I can't have this. It's just not for me. My next guest is a current athlete who's aspiring to not only get into the NFL, I flipped the script there, CFL or other professional or another professional organization. Welcome Alexander Little, who's continuing to strive hard work and determination. And he is no stranger to obstacles. Of course, obstacles could come in different forms. We were talking about obstacles with Colin Kaepernick. Does he have the ability to discern and remove those negative things in his life, and only he has control to do it? Alexander Little, on the other hand, is not making light of what he's continuing to strive, work hard for, and he's determined. And obviously no stranger to any obstacle whatsoever. Welcome to the show, Alexander. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. It's a blessing being here.
Well, thanks for coming on. I know you have a workout in a different league August 9th. And of course, joining me is Harrison Hunter right here on the Rude Dog Show on the Two Life Studios Radio Network. Alexander, I'll be honest with you, I looked at your body of work. I've looked at your actual work that speaks for itself. And I think to myself, man, you come with a loaded package, meaning that you come with 5 other siblings. You followed a brother into football. We're going to touch on all of that. But now you're fighting to get the awareness from all these NFL teams. I've seen your work, I've seen your speed, I've seen your physicality. I've looked at all of that. You almost remind me of a Jerome Bettis with the nimbleness. Maybe not the fastest legs on the planet, but you're very nimble. You can get through, cracks and crevices, not obviously in the running back situation for you, but still, let's talk about greatness. Let's talk about greatness. Let's talk about how your dad had a major impact on your decision, at least maybe not realize at the time, to play sports in the eventuality of it all. But it wasn't the decision he made for you. But I think it was more so about who you are. And it was seeing who he was personally, and of a godly influence that he had on you and in your life. You're a Pennsylvania native born in 1993 to parents who were God-fearing people, and your father being a super middleweight champion 1 year after your birth, but unfortunately and tragically passed, being diagnosed with colon cancer in January of 2000. Do you believe that your birth had a lot to do with your dad winning the title the following year, or do you think that it was just a myth?
I know that God does all things for a reason. And with my birth, me being special and knowing that it probably did have a factor on it, spiritually. But I don't know if I believe that too much, but it's still just a blessing to have to say that after a year after I was born, my dad was blessed and fortunate enough to receive the super middleweight champion of the world title.
I think it may have something to do with it. I know that when I had my daughter, I mean, obviously I didn't birth her, but when my daughter was born, I had a new sense of rejuvenation. I felt like I was alive again. I was ready to go again. I was ready to just put it on and say, this is my only daughter. I got to do right. I got to go about this the right way. And sometimes children that are born can do that for us, can give us the revitalization, can get us up and going and running. But what types of influences did your dad have on you when you were very in impression age of, let's just say, 4, 5, 6? Because you were daddy's boy. Everybody wants to hear about mama's boy, and that certainly wasn't the case. You were daddy's boy. What did you feel about being around your dad all the time and becoming his shadow? What did that mean to you?
It means a lot, because to have these shoes to fill, it's just like, it just gives me that standard. And then my own standard to go above that. And ahead of that is God's standard for my life. So it's just great expectations for my life to keep. And I love it. I love seeing those goals and those standards, those expectations in front of me, because it just makes me fight hard to accomplish many, many things and great things in my life.
Harrison, did you have anything to add to that, or did you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what kind of role did religion play in your upbringing, Alex?
They played a huge role. I had a lot of convictions as a little kid. When I do things, I think about God and I think about my parents, so I would end up not doing them. And thankfully, making that choice to not do them, it led me on a good path to be a good kid. And it structured me to be the man I am today too. So I thank God for him being in my life, my parents' life, and for structuring me at a young age through my parents. So that's it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you had 5 other siblings. That's crazy. Now, I had 3 other siblings outside of myself. And at times I had to try to separate myself to be seen, to be noticed. Do you feel as though that you had to do something? I mean, again, you lost your dad in January 2000. What was it about losing him that made you find a way to recover and not necessarily become mama's boy, but to become closer to your mom in lieu of your dad not being there?
Honestly, I really didn't have to try too hard to stand out. I look like my mom. I'm like the only one that looks like my mom. So I kind of just stood out because of that fact. But the change of being attached to my mom and now having my dad being gone, I was such that it first happened, it was kind of weird, and for a large part of my early life, it was hard for me because it's like my dad's gone and I'm used to my dad being there and my mom's getting out, but so we went through some struggles, but thankfully by God, He allowed us to grow closer, become real with each other, and speak to each other about deep and secret things that we kind of like, that kind of put us apart, and it made us grow. And I love my mom so much, and we have a very strong relationship now for it.
So how do you today continue to rely on Christ?
Say that again?
How do you today continue to rely on Christ?
In every way possible. When I wake up, from the time that I wake up, I thank him for everything that he's blessed me with. I rely on him for my strength, because he is my strength in everything that I do, whether it's my career or football or my everyday life. When I'm just walking the street, he is my strength. I rely on him for everything.
And it's always good to have that reliancy. Your dad was there as your strength, but he was your human dad. Christ is your godly dad, giving you the intangible things that you carry with you on a daily basis, which is a very commendable thing for you. I think most people could probably learn from that, unless they've walked a similar path to yours. They may not know. In all fairness, they may truly not know. But when I look at your dad, and I think to myself, he was an athlete. He was somebody. He was Steve Little. If anybody doesn't know who he is, his nickname was Lightning. And if you can't look at somebody's past and say, man, he did some great things while he was there. He did what other people wish they could have done. Was that your decision-making process because you've seen the greatness in him? You wanted to play a part in that greatness as well? Yeah. Just seeing the things that he accomplished and seeing how great he was, it's like, I know that I have that greatness inside me, but it has to be activated. So it's just been a motivation to activate that greatness that is instilled. I know that I have in me from my father, because seeing his great feats that he's accomplished.
So you gauged interest in Division I teams, Alex, but decided to go the NAIA route. Walk me through your journey as a collegiate athlete, from where you started to where you ended.
At the beginning of my collegiate career, I was pretty unsure of myself. I was coming out of high school in 2011. I wanted to go to a Division I school, but I knew that the JUCO route was for me. So I ended up going up to Albany, New York. It was like a small suburban place toward New York. And Hudson Valley Community College is where I attended first. And from there, I put it with these guys that were like bounce backs and stuff like that. And I started to build confidence. And from there, I left and withdrew. I made a dumb choice to leave there, and I just was like, I didn't like it. I got caught up in this young childish mentality. Left there and went to a prep school in Georgia. And after Atlanta, Georgia, that's when I strengthened my relationship with Christ. And my football career really just took off. Then I went from California, and I bounced from one school in California. It was called Mount San Jacinto College. It was not the place for me, and things weren't working out. So I moved from there to Orange Coast College, where my success started to just grow, and that's where I was just got interest from those Division I schools, and that's where it really started.
Kind of interesting. I went to Orange Coast College. I was majoring in accounting. Yeah, boring. I know. I get that a lot. I said, why would you go into accounting for? Well, I was in my 20s. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to study. In all fairness, I could have probably went to sports and taken your route, and who knows where that could have actually gotten me. But I wasn't really into that. It wasn't my thing, at least then. I played on some sports in the past, but the road that I had taken was a road that is less traveled, at least in the broadcasting industry. About 4 years worth into it, but Orange Coast College was essentially where the starting point was for you. In 2014, you ended up playing for them. And when I look at schools like Orange Coast College, I think to myself, this is a great school. They have a great academic curriculi. They have a great sports entity at that school. And then you realized that it wasn't for you. You went the NAIA route, stopping by William Penn University. You played with them through spring ball. But what was it about? I talk about transitions because you came from back east. You went all the way up to Albany, New York, to come all the way to Southern California, Orange County. What was that transition like? Was it difficult to become acclimated to a new environment at OCC? Or was it something that you felt as though you had to do to trek out and live life and see what life was all about before going to the NAIA system?
It was a culture shock. It was huge. It's totally different from my seniors from the East Coast. So just adjusting to that was big. But the mentality that I had was, this is what I have to do to get to where I want to be. So I kept that mindset. And it just went smoothly. And then I also kept my relationship with Jesus Christ. I relied on him through that. And there were some ups and downs. It wasn't perfect. But he pulled me through. And it was a blessing and an opportunity. I'm glad I'll do it again if I could.
So, is it true, Alex, that you've been forfeited your college eligibility to pursue the pro route?
Yes, sir.
Was there someone counseling you in that decision, or was that just you praying and finding an answer?
That was part of me praying and asking God. God, I feel like I'm getting kind of old. What should I do at this point in this stage of my football career? And I felt leave this school and start a pro career, and just try your shot at the NFL or try your shot at the pro level.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's not easy to do. The realization of trying to exit a system. Again, we're talking about comfort, and some people have their comfort food, some people have their comfort couch, some people have their comfortable environment that they're in. Sometimes a little conducive, but trying to get out of that comfort zone was you getting into a position where you were eligible for college, which helped start your professional career. Do you regret forfeiting your college eligibility, or do you believe that it was something that the Lord was helping you direct onwards in your life?
Maybe my flesh, from a flesh point, I did kind of wonder, like, what would it be like if I finished out my college career? But honestly, I felt it was a God thing, and the Lord was leading me that route, and I took it because my Father led me. Even though my flesh probably didn't want to go that way, the Lord was leading me through my spirit to go this way, and I didn't care who was saying no or yes. I was relying on God, and I went that way.
So you bounced around a couple of semi-pros recently. What were some of your biggest takeaways from some of these coaches or players you played with? What were some of the biggest tidbits or nuggets that you've learned along the way?
Just networking. Huge thing is networking and who you know. And it's not always about how great you are. It's really about who you know and who you're getting around, who you're rubbing shoulders with. And that was something I learned from Coach Bill from the Reading Raptors in Reading, Pennsylvania. And that was pretty big to me. And just starting to actually apply that and get networking to where I found Rudy Reyes and some different people. I saw their work, and that was something great that he taught me.
That's interesting. You kind of put me there at the top of the list. I'm very humbled. Thank you for that. No, I guarantee it really started back then. You were talking about how networking is such a viable component. I don't know that collegiate athletes who are trying to get to the next level understand that or take the time out to really help grow that network. And you were talking about knowing someone. It helps. It certainly helps to know someone, but for them to see the value in you, what you possess, what skill sets you have, And I think a lot of that can be attributed to networking with the right people. Again, we were talking about that earlier in the show, way earlier in the show, about how that's a viable cog. It's a component that allows us to grow personally, professionally, and if you're surrounded by people who are Christ-like, you will pick up those same mannerisms, those same habits. And I'm speaking from life experience. Like I said, I'll be 44, so I'm probably the oldest gentleman on this panel. Did I just say that out loud? but it's not about age. Age is not just a number. It's who we say we are. It's our actions defined by what we say. We can say one thing. We can talk a good game. You can say, Coach, put me in, put me in, put me in. And then when he does, you end up falling flat. Well, he's going to ask you what happened. You're going to tell him, I don't know. I didn't see you did your best out there in the field. You either say, you're right, I didn't, and own up to it, or say, well, I'll try better next time, Coach. Well, which one is it? Is it about recognizing what you did wrong so that way you can try to do right and make those corrections? Look, I've spoken about this on this show 1,000,000 times before. 1,000,000. We are who we say we are. And you are who you say that you are. Harrison is the same thing. He is who he says he is. But let's talk about this global team. And I've heard a lot about them. I've read a lot about them. I've looked at a lot of film about them. And I've read up and I've been, I do a ton of reading on the news and so on and so forth. But somehow you were able to get a hold of, you're talking about networking, this all plays a very viable role. When the head coach put you in contact with Michael Cordy, the host of the Global, they had taken on Team World in Daytona Beach, Florida. Of course, everybody knows what's going on in Florida right about now, and it's not good. But it was good for you at the time. What was it like playing in that system? What did you learn while you were there, and do you feel as though you learned enough that will help you get to the next level in the NFL?
Yeah, it was a blessing and experience. It taught me just how to be a dog and how to take the punch and roll with it. Because I was playing with NFL guys and semi-pro guys that really had talent. And it really just opened up that door for me to be exposed to CFL, NFL, AFL, every pro league that you can think about. So it was like, I honestly can't thank that man enough, Michael Cordy, for giving me the opportunity to play in that game. Because it was such a great experience. And it's just a unique opportunity for free agents, because it was a free agent bowl, for us to play and get that exposure. So I thank him very much.
Would we know real quickly any names from that game that you got to play in, Alex? Would you recognize them?
Yes, Walter Sanders, he's the ex-NFL running back for the Ravens, and I had a pleasure to play with him.
We always learn from people, speaking of learning from people, from players, from coaches, from people you choose to have in your life. You were drafted by the Rivals Professional Football League after that game, but you wanted more. You wanted a different environment. You wanted something better. Was it something about prayer that had led you into being invited to the Beyond Sports Network Combine, or do you feel as though you showed enough on the field and from a humanistic standpoint, they looked at it and said, well, we have enough film on this guy, let's invite him in?
Honestly, I can say that my talent helped me, but I know that it's been God this whole journey that has opened up doors and given me opportunities to play and get invited to combines like the National Scouting Combine for the BFN. So it's been God this whole time. And I give him all the credit, all the honor and glory for everything that's going on in my career.
Alex, you have a tryout with Lee Valley Steelhawks this upcoming Saturday, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What drills, it's a two-part question, what drills do you expect to go to, and what are your favorite drills that you personally like to do?
The drills that we have lined up are the 40, the L drill, the shuttle drill, broad jump, and vertical, and then individual drills.
Which one's your
My
favorite?
personal favorites are the one-on-one individual drills that we have at the end. Also the jumping drills, the vertical. Oh, actually the broad jump, not the vertical too much. But the shuttle as well. And those are my favorite.
Yeah, I've interviewed a ton of guys. Antonio Penn comes to mind, Lehigh Valley Steelhawks. I don't know if you recognize that name or if you know him.
I do.
You do know? Okay, great. He's been on my show before as well. What do you know? It's a small world.
Well, I don't know him personally, but I know him.
You know that well, you know of him. He did really well with the Lehigh Valley Steelhawks in Whitehall, Pennsylvania. And you're working with Zach Hibden. Matter of fact, he is one of the partners here on the Rudolph Show, as well as Charles Bird from Elite Sports Personnel. There are a lot of, I mean, you know as well as I do, NFL teams are trimmed down to 53 man. There could be injuries. And that could take part of from the beginning of the season, which starts tomorrow night. Kansas City Chiefs take on the New England Patriots on an NFL kickoff. That's not even a weekend. It's a Thursday. It's not the weekend. Weekend's Friday. Everybody's TGIF on Friday. But because of the injuries aforementioned, and I don't wish injury on anyone, but it's the reality of the game. It's the reality of the sport. That is what happens. Will you be ready if an NFL team wants to call you, contact you, send you an email, shoot a flare? I mean, if they were to contact you now and they asked you, let's just say the Ravens called you, would you be ready to go at that moment's notice? And do you know that you'll be able to perform and maximize your best after that call?
Yes, I will. And I know this because of my preparation and because of the guy he's also on my side, but also my preparation.
Yeah, Alex, has any team been in contact with you with the looming cuts that just happened this past weekend and games kicking off this weekend? Have you been in contact outside of Lehigh Valley Steelhawks?
Yes, months back I was contacted by the Colorado Crush. Marvin Jones, when he was the head coach of the Colorado Crush. Also the Calvary Fintech in Texas. And also another arena team that I can't remember at the moment, but there's been a couple teams that have been contacted me.
I look at the NFL and think to myself, there's so many great players. I interview Division II guys all year round. I think you're number 40. Last year I did 32. Year before that was 29. Year before that was 20. So every single year I find myself in a situation where these guys, everybody wants an opportunity. Well, and why wouldn't you? It's a pleasure to play in the NFL. It's something that is God sent to be able to even perform and have an opportunity to get into the NFL. Unfortunately, not everybody gets in. Only a small percentile from Division II NAIA get in to play in the NFL. It's sad, but it's true. I look at a variety of teams, and I think to myself, why would you give this guy that kind of money? Or why does that even make sense? How did you do that? Why would you cut this person and not that person? They haven't performed. They have mental miscues, things of that nature. We're talking about mentality. How mentality has everything to do with why you are who you are. Does mentality and spirituality work hand in hand? And if so, what do you believe is on the horizon for you through prayer?
I think it definitely goes in the hand. It's just to be a believer in Christ is your mindset. So it's literally exactly what it is, and it helps me greatly. To believe in Christ and to read His Word. He in His Word says that His very Word strengthens our bones in our body. So it's just a real thing, and it strengthens us in every single way, as well as our mentality to prepare us for whatever it might. And for me, it prepares me for a career in the NFL.
You've had a tremendous story so far in the journey you've been on. How do you think you can be an inspiration to others?
By sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ, letting them know that they can be free from all the bondage, all the hurt, pain, and uncertainty in their life, and that they can also see the light like I have seen, and just live a life of peace, love, and joy.
Yeah, I think all that stems from a very young age. It was something that your mother firmly believed in, your dad firmly believed in. Was the loss of your dad something that had you asking God why? Or was the message delivered to you anytime prior saying, well, this is all eventual, this will happen, he's going to a better place, God knows why? What were your feelings about that? Did you feel as though the Lord had forsaken you?
I never felt as though the Lord had forsaken me, even as a young kid. There was an absence in my life, so it made me upset and sad at times. But I've always felt that God has put on my spirit that my God is in a good place. Don't worry, and I will take care of you. And I've understood that more and more as I've gone throughout my life, growing closer to God.
Let's be a little selfish here, Alex. I'm just a normal dude, so I've never had an agent. What's your favorite aspect of having one?
Having what? I'm sorry.
A sports agent.
Having my agent, for him helping me out, opening doors to different GMs and just for the opportunity to play in the NFL team and for sponsorships like that, like for people to sponsor me and just different opportunities, like, and then also to have somebody to speak to and help me out and understands me and to level with me in my career in football. It's awesome.
There's life after football. Everybody knows that. Even NFL players have been playing the game for 15, 20 years. And it's not very long, I'll be honest with you. When you compare it to the length of time that you're alive, football is a very small part of it. And I've interviewed a lot of Hall of Famers, a lot of players, and the conversation comes up, well, what happens after football? Even these Division II guys that I interviewed trying to gain awareness through NFL teams. Look, and this is no different. NFL teams, Colts, Steelers, Ravens, Bills, Jets. I'm not going to name all 32. That'll take me a while. But those NFL teams that can utilize a gentleman of this stature who can maximize any position that he partakes in your system, give him a call. His name may be Alexander Little, but he doesn't play little. He plays big. And what's even bigger is his heart, his determination, his passion, his drive, and a whole nother list of fantastic qualities that he possesses. Now, of course, this is my show, and I can do that, and that's my prerogative. And when I look at we're talking about body of work, when I look at your resume, it speaks for itself. And now talking to you puts it all in a full circle fashion. What do you enjoy most about football? And do you believe that there is an opportunity for you in the NFL or the CFL or the AFL or any other FL for that matter?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry about that.
No, that's all right. It's about understanding that if an NFL team wants to call you, because I believe an NFL team will call you, will find a way to contact your agent, Charles Byrne.
Okay.
We're talking about agents and how they can provide such an impact. They can be good, they can be bad. NBA's got issues with Isaiah Thomas firing his agent today. So when you want an agent, you want to keep an agent. It's a personal situation. You find yourself personally attached to your agent, at least if they're a good one or if they're a great one. Do you believe it's though NFL teams are looking, I'm not asking you to be self-centered, but based on your experience, based on your resume, your athletic resume, your collegiate resume, that there's a legitimate reason why an NFL team has not called you?
Yes. And truthfully, honestly, I can say that it's been inconsistency in my life and in my career, personally. And that's what I'm trying to prove to them, is that I'm not this inconsistent, young-minded, bad choice-making athlete that I was in the past, and that I can come into your organization and I can be a great athlete and I can accomplish great feats within your organization and be an asset.
We're going to touch on something great, Alex. After your football career is over, hopefully a good deal from now, maybe a couple decades, what do you think you'll find yourself doing?
After I'm done with football, I look to coach kids and a youth Christian football camp all across the nation.
Something like, what's it called? The
FCA?
FCA, that's exactly right. In high school, I played at a couple FCA camps, man. That stuff was really awesome.
Yeah.
Giving back to people is just something that most don't know about, and sometimes they don't know how to give back. And a lot of the ways that I've been able to give back is to allow people to come onto the show to give of myself freely, because that's what the Lord wants me to do. What does the Lord call you to do right now?
The Lord is definitely calling me to play football, and also minister and serve in my church that I go to now in Reading, Pennsylvania. Action Chapel, Pennsylvania is what it's called. And I've had ups and downs in the church, but it's just amazing what God is doing through my family here at HC and my pastor as well. It's just God is really calling me to evangelize within the church, and I'm just going his journey from it, and just ministering and serving in the church.
When you're down and realizing that you're not where you want to be yet, and you're praying to God and Christ about to step in and do what they think is best, it's not necessarily always aligned with what we think, right?
Right. That's correct.
So what do you think if there's a different path that you could be on this very moment to minister to all these players or all these kids that you wouldn't necessarily be able to with time commitments or other things that you're doing in the NFL? Do you think that could be possible?
Can you ask that again? I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you very much.
Yeah. No, all good. So I'll shorten it up. To say that what you're doing now and the players you're getting to impact now and the teammates you're with, do you think God is intentionally put you here to impact them?
Just to be able to tell my fellow athletes, my teammates, that serving God and having my ups and downs that I've had in my life, not working, and then having work and being from job to job, but having God throughout this time of my life, but persevering and keeping that mentality, that positivity, and that strong faith in God throughout my life, where I didn't have football. It's just kind of my testimony, basically, is what's going to definitely encourage people and change the atmosphere of the locker room or wherever I am, telling my team.
A lot of times in the NFL, you're going to find that guys don't necessarily want to talk about their faith. And Rob Matty, who's a friend of mine on Facebook, and we talk about faith on the field. I'm still trying to get on the show. He's got a full lineup of Christian men. And on just a slight side note, there are a few rock stars that have just came out of the closet as well. Not literally the closet. Come on, people. Bear with. Come on. Let's be realistic here. What they did is they opened up about their Christianity. Terry Bradshaw did the very same thing as a rookie. Roger Staubach did the very same thing. He's also a devout Christian. And I have Terry Terry Bradshaw's book. It was just his birthday yesterday, in fact. Today's Ryan Shazier's birthday. Of course, nothing but Virgos, but I don't know if that speaks to greatness or if that's just a name, but what's in a name? And a lot of times, guys who come out of the proverbial closet, I had to slip that in there, and announce their faith, has a lot to do with a variety of things, from having doors open otherwise would not be open through Christ, being able to achieve what they're trying to achieve with Christ versus without. I'll be honest with you, I was lost without it. I was lost in the wilderness, without a candle, without a stick, without a flashlight, without 2 stones. And this is where he's got me. Is this the highest point of my life? No, probably not. But if I keep believing, that could land me into greatness just like it will you. So if there was any statement that you wanted to give to NFL teams openly, what would that be?
That I'm a faithful Christ follower that is ready to give 110% every single day. No matter what's going on, I'm going to be there for you. I'm the guy, and you should pick me. You should have me in your organization.
I agree.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, Alex.
That's
And you
awesome.
mentioned something earlier about working different jobs. What is the most obscure job that you've ever had to work?
I worked sanitation for Sweet Street, a factory for Sweet Street out here in Reading, Pennsylvania. And it was just pretty odd, like having these 30 cans that I had to throw into this steam machine, and it was pretty weird. That's it.
Yeah. I could go back at one of my first jobs. It wasn't very nice. I was out in the middle of, I was near the Arizona border at 112 degrees outside, hooking telephone poles. That was my dirty job. But again, we all have to start somewhere. I know you've heard this before, and it's a narrative that I use time and time again. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I don't think you're finished. Your journey is still ongoing. I think you're still right there on the cusp. And I can guarantee you that an NFL team could very well make that call to you, reach out to you or to your agent, Charles Burns. How has Zach Hibden been? Because as I stated earlier, he's a partner of the Rude Dog Show. But how has he specifically been of assistance to you in your journey to get into, albeit the NFL or the CFL?
I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. How has Zach Hibden from at Elite Scouting been for you, been to you? Has he been able to open doors? Is it just a coaching thing? How is he attributed to helping you get to where you want to go?
I mean, he's been a great contribution to my career. He's gotten me in contact with those teams that I spoke to you earlier about, and he's constantly working for me every day, like hard, to make that opportunity happen to where I can someday be in the NFL.
So, the $1 million question in my mind is fans love to hear what they love to read, looking up guys that are going to be drafted, is who a player looks like and resembles. If you could give yourself a player comparison in the NFL, who would it be, Alex?
I would have to say Jerry Hughes from the Bills.
Yeah, why is that?
We're undersized defensive linemen. I'm about 250 pounds right now, and he's about 255 pounds. And he plays defensive end, outside linebacker. And that's what I believe I'll be playing in the NFL. And we had similar traits when I watched this film.
I think you're onto something. Yeah, what's your favorite move?
My favorite move is the chop rip, coming off the edge, and I have two favorite moves, honestly. It's beat the power. It's being able to bull rush a tackle or any offensive lineman back into the quarterback and turns and goes, to be honest. So, yeah.
Nice. It almost reminds me of a that's who, when you said that, I've seen him do it. That's why when you said his name, I said, wow, he must have read my mind. That's kind of solid off the edge. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rudy Reyes. I am joined by two fantastic people here right on the Rudy Reyes Show. Alexander Little, doesn't play little on. Harrison Hunter, who's himself a success story and obviously an aspiring sports interviewer, former student athlete. He has a lot of insight in regards to playing in collegiate sports and what it takes to learn the broadcasting industry, and so far on a very good pace to do just that. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show on Two Live Studios Radio Network. Gentlemen, as we close out, Harrison, where can people find you and your podcast? And I know that there's the seventh report, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So I'm on Twitter at the Seventh Report. I write for like a Bleacher Report, kind of. It's just smaller, called Death Pin. I put out a bunch of stuff on the NFL, writing. I got 7 or 8 posts going out tomorrow about my divisional rankings and teams finishing, and at the same time I do my own podcast with the Seventh Report. So I appreciate you really having me on, man. This is a lot of fun, and Alex is fantastic guy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. It's always good to get fresh minds, fresh voices, fresh thoughts. And that's really what it's about right here on the Rude Dog Show. Alexander, last but not least, with a few minutes left here on the show, why should, not what if, why should an NFL team contact you to be a part of their roster?
You should contact me because I'd be a difference maker, a playmaker, everything that you can want in an athlete. And also I'm coachable, very, very coachable. I will evolve as the years go by in your organization, and I'll be a huge asset.
I believe it. I'm a believer in more ways than one. Ladies and gentlemen, Alexander Little. Thank you, Alexander, for joining me here on the show. I certainly appreciate it. And a round of applause for Alexander Little. Defensive end, ready to go at a moment's notice, and I hope an NFL team contacts you. I really do. Harrison, thank you so much for joining me. Love having you on. It was great, and we're going to certainly do that again. So thank you for hanging out.
Big honor. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. Round of applause for Harrison as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Harrison Hunter. Reach out to him on the Seventh Report. You can find me on Twitter at RudeDogReyes. Go to therudedogshow.com. This will turn into a podcast as well as a video. Make sure you check it out. Let me know what you think. I always value input, constructive criticism, and everything therein. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.
Thank you, Rudy. God bless.
Thanks, guys. God bless you as well. Take care. Thank you.